I've watched YouTube Rewind a single time, and I'm making this video immediately because that's how discourse works. We must have immediate opinions in the moment when the thing is news, and if we do not, then there's no relevancy. So have an opinion fast and have it now. And if you want to spend some time thinking, well, get the fuck out. That's not what this is about. It's 2019. This is internet discourse. I liked it. It's got like a 50-50 like to dislike ratio right now. I think a lot of people disliked the video before it even started playing. It's a meme to dislike YouTube Rewind. My favorite kind of meme where you just don't like things and that's part of your identity. So one of the reasons why people don't like YouTube Rewind, and one of the reasons I really do, and I understand why it makes people like uncomfortable, a little bit unhappy, upset, is when you have an idea of what something is, and then you are confronted with the reality that that thing is different than you thought. It's uncomfortable. And YouTube is not what we imagine it to be. You know, you watch the thing and you realize that like, this place is just much bigger than we think, and no individual person is a huge part of it. There are lots of people out there who really like Mr. Beast, and there are lots of people out there who really like BTS, and they both want that thing to be the subject of YouTube Rewind, and they both think that like this is the most important cultural thing, and they're both wrong, and so you have to put BTS and Mr. Beast in the same video, and then you end up with a thing that is celebratory of, get this, the diversity of things people like in culture rather than the thing that you like. The thing that you thought YouTube was. I loved especially the part where they went through the biggest channels in other countries. I got honestly a little bit choked up when it was like, this was the first YouTube creator in Thailand with 10 million subscribers. I was like, I've never thought about that there was no YouTuber in Thailand with 10 million subscribers. I had no idea who that person was, of course. And then there was the first YouTuber in Germany with 10 million subscribers, which is a good friend of mine. Like, that's a wild thing. Or it's like, the guy who runs the company is a good friend of mine, I should say. Kurzgesagt obviously isn't done by one person. That was the part that hit me the hardest, that there are still these places where this is becoming an increasingly culturally relevant thing. And then like, it really did show like a lot of cool things that happened on the platform this year. The other thing I got from this video is a little bit of a nod to reality, which is that YouTube isn't a community. Like, YouTube isn't a community. Lots of YouTubers have communities on the YouTube platform. But this idea that YouTube is a single definable thing, like a single definable cultural movement has not been true for many years. And what YouTube is kind of saying here is we're not trying to be that anymore. We are a video hosting platform. Here are the statistics of the cool things that people did here, and that's not really us. That's not, and I like that. It seems like a nod toward the reality of YouTube in 2019 headed into 2020, which is that it's not so simple anymore, that you can pretend, and we were always pretending, but we used to be able to actually pretend that this is a thing that everyone sort of imagines the same. It's just not. And it's so far away from that I think eventually they had to get away from that old format of YouTube Rewind and either do nothing or do something else. And a couple of comments I saw were basically like, YouTube is so weak, this is a weak move, and they have, not done the risky, brave thing. And I'm just like, what do you think that is? The brave thing to you is so different from the brave thing to me, or the next person, or the next person, or the next person. Like if you think what you are saying there is that there is a true YouTube, and that all the other people have got true YouTube wrong. And that's like I'm sorry, man. Like, you have your true YouTube, but it's not YouTube. It's not, it's your thing. It's the communities that you are a part of. And YouTube is somewhat extracting itself from this idea that like YouTube, the company, the platform, the brand is part of those communities. And it's saying, no, we enable those things. We are the foundation that those are built on. We're the land that this stuff is built on. We're the buildings that like these communities inhabit. We are not the community itself. That's a little sad because like I used to imagine it differently. I used to imagine it like this town was the community, but it's not anymore. There has been over the years a lot of conversation about whether YouTube Rewind should be siloed in some way, where it should be regionalized, basically. So you have Europe Rewind, and you have English-speaking Rewind, and you have a Middle East Rewind and a Asia Rewind or whatever. I think that would be YouTube trying to go back to this old way of imagining what YouTube is, which is a false imagining. Now, I'm not saying that would necessarily be bad for their brand. I think people like to imagine that YouTube is part of the fabric of the community, and it is like part of the identifying nature of what makes these communities like themselves. I don't think it is. Like, I obviously, like, how the platform functions defines how the communities build themselves, what kind of content gets made, how people communicate with each other. And so that's real, and like that's kind of to extend the city metaphor, this is like an urban planning problem of like, how do you build the roads, where do you put the zones kind of thing. But I think by basically making this like a top 10 list of sorts, YouTube is saying like, this is a thing where amazing things happen, but like YouTube is not the defining characteristic of these creators. The defining characteristic of the creators isn't that they're YouTubers, it's that they are creators of content. It's a little bit like the Spotify thing that is also happening right now, where it's saying like, you're not a Spotify artist. Like, there are people who sort of make their stuff specifically for Spotify, of course, but like, you are a musician. And YouTube could either try to like go the nationalist route and be like, here's what a real YouTuber is, or it can go this sort of globalist route and say, okay, we are just the raw materials with which you can create, and how you do that is up to you, and what succeeds is not us. It's not about us, it's about the people who succeed. I like that. I think that's good. And this feels extracted from that old idea of YouTube being sort of the central identity of what makes these communities work. Because it isn't. Like, YouTube is the buildings and the roads. It's all the non-living stuff that communities inhabit. And this feels more honest about that, even if it is a little bit of a leaving behind of an idea that meant a lot to me, still means a lot to me, but ultimately, like, we have to find other identifiers, other like identities on this platform that aren't just YouTuber. If that's going to be our identity, and if we're going to sort of like try to apply what I think a YouTuber is to the whole platform and be mad when it's wrong, that's because my idea of what YouTube is wrong. What my idea of what a YouTuber is wrong. It doesn't fit the breadth of reality. And this is a video that, for better or worse, reflects reality. So by going to something that tries to accurately represent what YouTube actually is, not just tries to, but like says it, like, here are the numbers, you can't argue with it. That's our job, is to take all the numbers down. You get an accurate portrayal of like what like YouTube viewership is actually like. And that, you can either look at that and say like, I don't like that, and I don't want to recognize that, or you can look at it and say like, wow, YouTube is much different than I thought it was, and that's like it's a big diverse world, and it's a big diverse platform, and YouTube is a global platform that has a lot of creators on it, and that's doing a lot of things that are like completely outside of my notice, and that's neat. I'm gonna check now that I've been recording for 10 minutes to see if the like to dislike ratio has gotten any better. I've got too many tabs open. We're at 318,000 views right now. 41 up, 32 down. Refresh. Oh, it's getting worse, you guys. It's getting worse. It's doubled in view count, and now it's 69 up and 77 down. I think it's doing its job. It's out there saying YouTube is a cool place, and it's doing it accurately. And I'm amazed. I'm amazed to find how different things are than how I imagine them. And like, that's always that to me is a cool thing, where I find out the world is different than I thought it was. And you know, if your reaction to that is like, but this isn't actually how the world is, it is though. I, again, have not looked at anybody else's thoughts about YouTube Rewind. This is all from scratch, 2019 internet discourse, immediate reaction. So I will be interested to hear other people's thoughts. Project for Awesome begins tomorrow, by the way. projectforawesome.com/donate is open if you want to get perks right now. We got a bunch. They're weird. The live stream starts tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern time. 48 hours of stupid and thoughtful and silly and problem-solving stuff. Just trying to make the world a better place. So join us there. Do you like my new zip-up sweater? I love it. And this is the new Nathan Said Good Enough, which I think there are still a few blacks left if you want to check it out. Now it's like the end of video promo time, I guess. This isn't even my merch.